This Thrive Loud episode is brought to you by Hinge Consulting. Success on Amazon hinges on well-executed strategies. Contact Hinge Consulting to learn about total Amazon channel management and to see if your business has what it takes to grow over 300% over the next 12 months. That's Hinge Consulting at hingeconsulting.co.
Lou Diamond, always bright, always shining, from the light shining off his bald head.
Now I'm getting really excited. Okay, this is the part where I'm going to get loud.
Holy crap, here we go.
I like telling stories.
I learn best through experiences.
Everything I do is because of everything I did.
Talk about having maximum impact while having a ton of fun.
When you can net through that, what you do leave behind for your listener will have more impact.
Wow, bring it on.
It's time to take an inside look at those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. Today on Thrive Loud, we bring you talent acquisition strategist, performance consultant, and trusted advisor for recruiting leaders the world over. She is the founder and CEO of Beacon Lane Consulting, one of the sweetest and nicest people you will ever come across. Thrive Loud listeners, Elaine Davidson. Elaine, how are you today?
Hi, Lou. I'm good. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
So Elaine and I actually met maybe like about a year and a half ago, and she is the busiest person in the world. And we've been wanting to get her on Thrive Loud to talk about this amazing company, but she's been so busy. I finally caught her. I don't know how we were able to do it. I think we somehow managed to stop all forms of transportation and everything and lock her down and get her onto the show so she can share her amazing story. I'm only laughing because I know how busy she always is. And she's like shaking her head going, yep, that's probably true. That's how busy I was.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. I am.
So Elaine, if you could, you've had a great, interesting career and it's only getting better with this great work you're doing. Give a little bit of a paint the picture, if you would, for the Thrive Loud listeners to explain what you had done originally and how it's moved over to this, because that story is pretty cool. And I think we'll have a fun conversation from there. So ready to rock?
So great. I spent 20 years on the corporate side of things doing really great work for great large organizations. My role was always around talent acquisition. And so over those 20 years, I spent my time first, the vast majority of that with PwC. And then following that, I worked for a smaller boutique consulting firm down on Wall Street. And then I closed out that 20 years with spending several years at BlackRock doing talent acquisition, innovation, change management, recruiting excellence. What that really means is that anything that related to how a recruiting function operates, what their processes look like on a global scale, and anything related to innovation were the projects that I was running and had my hands in all different ways. Prior to that, I had actually spent some time doing hands-on recruiting, but I would say most of my career has been more on the strategy side of recruiting functions.
So Elaine, what after doing all that great work in some amazing companies, what was like the little voice or the bug inside your ear that said, you know what? I want to change what I'm doing and do something completely different. Help us understand what made you make the choice to start your own company.
Sure. So if I look back from where I'm standing right now today, the entrepreneurial bug was always inside of me. And I was fortunate enough to work in organizations that I was allowed to continue to reinvent myself every couple of years. So somehow, some way, I kind of kept that entrepreneurial voice kind of quiet. But there came a point where that really caught up with me. And I said, if I don't do this now, I'm probably never going to do it. And what I really wanted to do was get out in the market and out in the world and work with companies, industry agnostic, technology agnostic, and really help them figure out their recruiting function and think about how do they bring talent into the organization in a way that was efficient, minimized risk, really kind of put their brand in the market in the right place and just streamline things so that they could have, really what I kind of just think of as a better function. And I had so many ideas around how that could work and how I could systematize that so that we could repeat it for different clients over and over without losing the customization. And so it finally just got to the point when I was in my corporate career where I just was no longer able to really grow and stretch and kind of make the impact that I wanted to make.
So here's a fun question. And when you were working at, I guess at that point it was BlackRock, and obviously with all the experience at PwC, the opportunity, there's always a problem that we seek when people start their own business in their own company. There's some problem that they see or feel. And obviously there were lots of issues in the way these processes were working in the recruiting and a talent acquisition, or there's been so many different acronyms for what TLM, all these different words. What was the biggest problem, or what maybe even still today is the biggest problem that you said, this is something that I know that I can help fix? What was that one thing?
Yeah, I love this question. So the recruiting landscape is changing like daily, in the sense that recruiting technology has become so advanced and there's so many options out there. And having sat on the other side of the desk where all of these technology innovations were at our fingertips, from the inside perspective, there are two things happening. One, it's very overwhelming to kind of make sense out of all of the options that are out there. And two, even if you do make sense out of it, you're in the middle of recruiting and trying to fill seats, which really, if you don't have people in seats, the company can't make money. So it's very hard to figure all of that out. And what I realized was that while there are a small percentage of companies that are really kind of optimizing their recruiting function and can really make sense out of the technologies and the opportunities that are out there, so many companies are still trying to figure out how to kind of have a foundational function where they're standard, they are kind of running on all cylinders, and they've got the foundational stuff in place. So they're actually ready to implement all this stuff. So I just felt like there was nobody out there that I was seeing that really was able to kind of come in and make sense out of the recruiting, like life cycle, end-to-end process, and help companies figure out where all of this innovation fits in, because it doesn't fit in for everybody the same way at the same time. So I would say that's the biggest problem is, and I'll kind of take you to kind of the way that we talk about it. We have our own methodology, and we call it Recruiting Excellence 3.0. And it's standardize, stabilize, optimize. And so if you're talking to companies about all of this optimization, but they're not standard and stable, it's really not, it's not going to be beneficial for them to start thinking about all these other things. There are foundational elements of recruiting that need to be in place. And I just think there are so many companies that are lacking that and need that direction.
And that's great. And by the way, true, because I've worked with many of them, and I see that part. So obviously there's a component to what Beacon Lane does that is something that's out there. I want to ask you a personal question here. So you shifted, you saw a need, you knew this was something you wanted to do. And now, of course, you have to run your own business. And there's many entrepreneurs that listen to Thrive Loud, and they love people that they have an idea, they have a passion, and now they want to do it, but there's so many hurdles and hills that have gone through. First of all, talk about what it's like being a leader of your own company and growing that from the start, what that's been for you personally. And then we'll dive a little bit more as to some of the challenges that you have.
So, yeah, thank you. For me, it's amazing in the sense that this is exactly what I was always meant to be doing. So I love that. And it works for me on a lot of cylinders, right? Like it works for me personally. It works for me professionally. It fulfills me. It's hard work. It's really hard work. And if people like the idea of knowing that they're going to have a paycheck and every 2 weeks and I know what I have to do and everything's kind of written out for me, then this would be a tougher journey for that person who has that kind of a DNA. But for people who are entrepreneurial, this really works. For me, it's been a learning experience, and it's actually been very humbling. And I think that you need to be able to get to that point where even though you can't see what's next, you have to have this belief that there's something else that's going to happen, because you're going to keep pushing and you're going to open every single door until that next thing happens. And so you have to have a lot of tenacity, and you have to be willing to listen to the market. I think that was one of the biggest learning experiences. You go into business for yourself and you have an idea of what it is you want to deliver. But at the same time, you have to listen to the market and figure out what the demand is and where there's a need, and bring those two together.
So when we first met, I remembered, the understanding of what you wanted to do was perfect, and it made certain sense, because there's absolutely need, specifically in companies that you work with, in helping and to systematize and all those IZE words that you've put together in your process.
Yes.
What's been the things that once you started and when you were able to read the market, what was one thing that you saw that you needed to adapt to and show that flexibility?
I think, there's two things. One is realizing that not everybody's going to need what we offer. So this is a little bit of a different answer to your question, but I'll get to that part in a minute. So that was a really important thing. And I have this conversation often with a lot of the people that I call like in our circle of partners, because we have a big network of like recruiting technology partners that we work with. And I think it's really important to realize that not everybody is going to have the problem that we solve, and that's okay. And we also won't be for everybody. Right. And I needed to kind of really understand that and kind of make sense out of that for our business model. And that if I put the person in front of me who had the problem we solved, very confident that 95% of the time we can convert them to a client. Right. It just has to be the right person. So that was one thing. And so, another thing is being niched and not being afraid to be niched, and figure out what is the problem that you solve, and not being afraid to say no, that's not what we do, but let me refer you to somebody else. So I had to get really used to that mindset. And in terms of just shifting a little bit, I knew what we did, but I also realized quickly that we had to be open-minded. So for example, we help companies, we do a lot of diagnostic work. So we go into organizations, we look at their talent acquisition function, we spend a good 4 or 5 months getting under the hood and doing this diagnostic and giving them an implementation roadmap. Whether they hire us or not to kind of implement what we give them is a different, it's a different body of work. But what we also realize is that there are companies that have already made decisions about what it is they want and need. And we are not really in a position to influence that early on, and needing to kind of get on board with that, even if, for example, they have purchased an app. So in the recruiting world, we call it an ATS, an applicant tracking system. We're often brought in to help with that implementation so that we are the go-between between the client and the vendor. And oftentimes, I don't believe that they've chosen the right platform for the organization, but I can't change that. They've already made that decision. So for us, and I think for anybody out there who's running their own business, it's about meeting the client where they are, right, and then getting on the journey with them from that point forward.
That's a great point. And by the way, both points are great. Like to recognize, you can't be for everybody. Although when you start the business, you think everybody needs it, of course, because that's the pie in the sky. And we also recognize there's some value in knowing that there's a niche piece to what's there, because when you get known for doing something specifically well, people know that's what you can go to, and that's a benefit. I've had people come on. You can't be all things to all people. You might be able to adapt to it, but you will do the best job when you do something specific. And being able to adapt, that's the fun part. I know fun is a strange word when you're running your own business, because fun has different stress levels. So it is exciting to see you doing this, and by the way, and thriving while you're doing it. So looking back, when you were making the decision to say, I'm going to start this new company, and to where you are today, are you happy that you started this new organization?
Happy is an understatement. I am right where I'm supposed to be. The one thing I would say is if I could change anything, I wish I would have done it sooner. But I will also say that everything that I did up to the point where I left got me to where we are today. So when I left my corporate life, I had clients almost immediately. And sure, in the beginning, I was kind of figuring things out while in flight. But I am so happy. So happy
Awesome.
that we're doing this. Yeah. Thank you.
No, of course. And I want to ask this question because one of the biggest challenges, and I ask this question of all the Thrive Loud guests, when you are your own boss and you're running your own company and you're running a gazillion miles an hour, and obviously you have a family and a life and all the things that you juggle each day. When you have well put.
I think so.
well, when you have trouble thriving, who do you turn to get back on the thriving track? More importantly, who's almost, if it's a who or a what, is your sensei to get you back on the game plan, back on the winning line that you've been on?
Yeah. So for anyone listening, I actually am a working mother with 3 children. So my life is incredibly busy. So yes, I have a life, but I invest a lot in myself in terms of coaching, consulting, like business consulting, mindset. Like I'm really hungry and thirsty for anything that's going to help get me to the next level, whether it's like emotionally, spiritually, physically, like whatever it is. I really believe in that. And so even before I left my corporate life, I actually had joined a year-long program that was all filled with entrepreneurs. I felt like a fish out of water. I didn't know what was going on. It was all new to me, but ever since then, I've continued to do that. And one of the things that I picked up along the way was like trying to be mind strong and believe and remember in those moments where everything feels like it's kind of crashing in on me, that it will get better. And I have to remind myself that this is going to work itself out. I just have to kind of go through the process and not try to avoid it completely. Like just get in it, get into the place that feels kind of, uncomfortable and work through it. So I kind of tend to lean on those people that are in my coaching world who have been where I am.
That's great. And I like that. I've seen so many different ways that people can invest in themselves and their time. And I love when people ask me, hey, do you know of a good thing to help you in this particular industry or this particular mindset? A lot of people doing meditation and all these things. Lou, do you have one that you recommend over another? And I get a lot of them, maybe because of being in the spot I'm in on this show and I ask this question, or because I'm surrounded by a lot. There is no right answer. I just said, I go, whatever works best for you. And whatever you like, try lots of different things. And that's great that you continue to do that.
I will say that if I don't get to work out, like honestly, just for me, mentally and physically, it has an effect on my work. Yeah. So I do try to get up early and get in a workout very first thing in the morning, as many days as I can. There are weeks like this week, and I'm excited. We're in the middle of writing 5 proposals this week. It's not happening this week. So I do the best I can. But that makes a big difference for me. And it makes me actually calmer and saner throughout the entire day.
That's awesome. Elaine, what are you looking forward to most? If you had a little bit of a looking glass or one of those, what do they call those things? Those futuristic things that you could look in the future and check it out. What are you looking forward to most for Beacon Lane and for yourself as you're growing and developing as this amazing individual that you are?
Thank you. I am, from a business perspective, there are probably a couple of things. One is we have great people on our team. We are intentionally small in the sense that, I call it boutique by design, that we bring in really good seasoned people who have been doing this work a long time. So I have a great team and I want to continue to build that team very thoughtfully and deliberately so that I can, obviously have great people around me doing the work and delivering the work so that I can continue to connect with clients and find those clients and have those clients find us that I know we can help. So for me, it's all about finding those clients that have the problem we solve and being their solution. I get really excited every time I get on one of those conversations and I could just see the light bulb going off and for many people in the room. So I get really excited about being able to solve that problem for clients and bringing in really good people to do this work with us because we have a lot of fun doing it too. So really excited about that. We are growing another piece of the business, which kind of happened organically. There were a lot of people coming to us asking for help in how do they find a job? And we're not career coaches. That's not what we do. But kind of our own light bulb went off and we decided to take everything we knew about the recruiting process at the entry level and reverse engineer it. And we put it into a program called Pivot 12. And we are now working with nonprofits whose mission is to work with college students. They tend to either be specific to an industry, or a lot of them are in the diversity space. And their whole mission is helping these students find those jobs and be career ready. So we're doing a lot of partnerships now, and we're in some really good conversations with these nonprofits so that we can deliver our program with them, in partnership with them, to these students. So that program is called Pivot 12, and it's just growing organically. And I'm really excited about that. It's just, I feel like we're paying it forward, and we're really helping these students and making an impact. Some of the feedback we've gotten has been really fulfilling to just kind of hear what we're able to do for these people.
That's
so I'm
awesome.
excited about both sides. Yeah, I'm really excited about both the consulting piece and this whole Pivot 12 project that we have going on.
Oh, that's great. And anytime you're able to give back, what's the significance of Pivot 12? What is there any reason why what that means, or is there something behind that?
Yeah. So Pivot was that, coming out of school and going to kind of start your career. I look at that as you're pivoting. And I think you're always pivoting in life. And so Pivot for me was like, wow, that's what it is. You're pivoting from student to professional. And then the program has 12 modules. So we put 12 together.
There you go. As simple as it is. Sometimes I ask the silly question and I get the simple answer. So give us all the places that we can learn more about you, about Beacon Lane, about any of these programs, and the best ways to find you. I could tell you, but it comes out much better when it comes from you. So, of course, I'm going to say social media. You can find us obviously on LinkedIn, on Twitter. We've got some stuff on Facebook, but I would say, we'll see more of the Pivot 12 stuff through Facebook, but certainly Beacon Lane on our website, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Okay, great. And we'll put all the links on the show notes so that everybody can easily find you, along with your charming, lovely picture as well. So thank you. All right. So we'll have two fun questions here. Okay. This one of these is because I know how busy you are and I know you like working out. Aside from working out, what other non-work related thing that you do for fun when you have a chance to just veg? Because I know it doesn't exist, but if you did have the time to do it, what would it be? Your fun thing to do that you only Elaine Davidson loves to do? I'm going to give you two answers. So one is I'm obsessed with decorating. And so I literally am always doing something in my house. So I have been living with a half of a kitchen since last June. Last June, I decided I was going to rip the kitchen out without a plan. So I did that. And we have had no kitchen sink since June, for almost the better part of a year. and it doesn't bother me at all, but I've got a family and they all just kind of look at me like, what's happening here? So we've had no cooktop, no kitchen, no light fixtures. And I'm just good with it because I love the design and the creation. And I think it's very true to the entrepreneurial spirit where we like to start a lot of things. And then I kind of am like, oh, I'm bored. Let me just start another one. And so that's what happens. So I get 80% done. And then I just say, well, I'm going to shop it out now. So let me just kind of take 3 months off of this project and go figure it out. So I'm always decorating and thinking about what else I could do. And then my secret passion is learning to play the guitar. Oh, and wow. So So I've got my guitar. I'm staring at it right now. I sit in the corner of my room and I'll pick it up and kind of just play around and do my thing. Someday when I have more time, I will invest in lessons, but that's my other thing is music. I'm like a music buff. Maybe one of these days, my son, who's been playing for about 10 years and is now getting ready to go off to college, he amazes me each time. And who knows, maybe he can come out and I'll teach you a little bit. Yeah, maybe, right? I'm always singing and my kid's like, oh God, there she goes again. Oh, that's fun. Elaine Davidson, your all-time favorite movie? Okay, so this is tough because I love chick flicks and I'm always happy to sit and watch a chick flick. But if I have to be honest about my favorite movie is probably Primal Fear. Really? I like that movie. That's Primal Fear. Just to clarify, that's Richard Gere and yes, it is. And obviously, what's her name? I'm blanking on all the actor. She's the one who plays the other attorney. It'll hit me in a minute, whatever
Yes.
it might be. But awesome story, great cast, and a really nice twist in that story for certain. It is.
Yeah, it's
courtroom drama.
Frances McDormand, I think, or is it Laura Linney?
Laura Linney, right? Frances McDormand is the shrink, and Ed Norton Jr. is
And Ed
of course.
Norton, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
that movie, I don't know if I love it or if it just totally freaks me out, but it gets me every time.
No, it's good stuff and phenomenal courtroom drama. So it's great stuff. I like it.
Yeah. I find it very addicting.
I like when we get a movie that isn't in the norm of all the different things out there. So it's always different.
Yeah.
Just kind of pop in.
Listen, I love the chick flicks. I love like Shawshank Redemption too. Like I just love different kinds of, the one thing I don't like is horror movies, but, something that either really makes me laugh or that like Primal Fear where it just like, you just never know what's going on behind somebody. And so I think that, I don't know, that just, it got me. I thought it was phenomenal acting.
Regarding horror,
that very last scene.
Oh yeah, no, when they flip it and he's
like
walking away
in his cell.
Yep.
Gives me the chills.
So when you talk about hating horror movies in August, when they start to show, if you see a summer blockbuster, then they'll start promoting the horror flicks for Halloween. And that's when they show you like 3 or 4 trailers. And I'll go see a movie with my wife. I'll lean over to her and go, yeah, we're not seeing that one.
Yeah, I would be in that boat with you. Like, I don't do any of those movies. They keep me up. They freak me out. But I also love like really funny movies, like the typical like Bad Moms, obviously because I'm a mom. So those things really make me laugh. So it depends on my mood. But, if I just think like what has really, when I think about a movie that stuck with me, Primal Fear was one of them.
That's awesome. Elaine Davidson, this has been a ton of fun. Continued success to Beacon Lane Consulting and to you. I only continue to plan to hear great things from you. And let's try to stay in touch and continue the conversation
so
going.
much.
And
I'd love to. Thank you.
And thank you for coming on the show. It was truly a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Likewise.
And to all the Thrive Lab listeners out there, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. And follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Thrive Loud. Or find us on the web at thriveloud.com.
Lou Diamond, funding broke college kids since 2017.